Alrighty, YouTube Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So I just finished wrapping up uploading the Chase Young video, giving my 2 cents on the trade. If you guys haven't watched that video, make sure you guys go check that out. But it's being reported that the 49ers and the Giants had agreed to a deal to send Adoree Jackson to the San Francisco 49ers. But the deal was called off because they failed to report the trade to the league in enough time before the trade deadline hit. And if this is true, this is big because, I mean, when you look at the 49ers team in terms of defensive back depth, it's seemingly like the 49ers are just going to hope that one of their younger players can step up as needed. When it comes to corners, they have Samuel Womack and Darrell Luter Jr. both coming back from injuries soon, which will help that depth at that position. But, man, if they could have gotten Adoree Jackson, and if this is true, Adoree Jackson's a cornerback that, would have came in and immediately helped this 49ers secondary. He would have probably immediately came in and been the best cornerback on the 49ers. He's good in coverage. He's great in man-to-man. That would have been a massive depth piece for the 49ers, but they allegedly failed to report the trade in enough time to the league, and the trade was called off. So, again, I mean, with Chase Young coming to the Niners, that should give this Niners team offense and defense motivation. It should pump everybody up, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and specifically the defensive line. It'll be interesting to see how well the 49ers defensive line and strictly just defense play, for the remainder of the year coming out of the bye week. And again, I mean, for what the Niners gave up for Chase Young, you have to do that. You're getting Chase Young for free, for the remainder of the season, and you're only paying him $600,000. But at the same time, it would have been nice to see them address interior offensive line. It would have been really nice to see them address cornerback. And again, I mean, they had a deal in place to get cornerback Adoree Jackson from the New York Giants, allegedly. But again, they failed to report it to the league in enough time, and the trade was called off. So if this is true, and it's being reported by Wesley Steinberg, he's a New York Giants insider and NFL insider. But yeah, I mean, here's his tweet. I'll read the tweet right now. It just says, the Giants had a trade agreed to with the 49ers for Adoree Jackson, but failed to report it to the league in enough time. It stings. If this is true, it stings. Because like I said, the 49ers are basically banking on Samuel Womack, Darrell Luter Jr., or just one of their young guys in general to step up for the remainder of the season. And again, I mean, I think this 49ers defense will turn things around with or without a doubt. And I would have said that with or without Chase Young. 49ers defense is an elite defense. I do think they'll turn things around. But again, I mean, it's like, if this is true, why not just inquire about Adoree Jackson in the beginning? Like, I just don't know why John Lynch would have sat there and tried to work out a deal at the last minute. Again, I don't know how true this is because it's not being reported by big-name guys like Ian Rappaport, Jeremy Fowler, and Adam Schefter. But at the same time, Steinberg's been around for a long time. But yeah, I mean, again, if this is true, it sucks. Yeah, I mean, again, I think the 49ers made a great move. They got a steal in Chase Young. They're pairing up Chase Young and Nick Bosa again. But my God, having another corner and getting another corner in here to help out that secondary would have been massive as well. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't know how true this is, but the moves from the 49ers in this trade deadline is telling everybody that they're banking on their corners to turn things around, and they're banking on a younger guy like Sam Womack or Luter Jr. to kind of step up throughout the season. And the 49ers have had a track record, of guys, young corners stepping up. You look at Ambry Thomas. He did it just a couple of seasons ago. You look at Diamador Lenore. I mean, he was a young player. He still is a young player, but he was a younger guy that ended up stepping up and making things happen. And, now he's a starting corner for the 49ers. So, again, and I think a lot of the 49ers cornerback struggles and secondary struggles has simply came from the defensive line not being able to get pressures on the quarterback. Because, again, I mean, you can make average at best corners work with a good defensive line. Any secondary in the NFL is going to be good when you have a great defensive line like the 49ers do. Obviously, they haven't been playing up to par, but I don't think those struggles will continue, especially with the addition of Chase Young. But again, I mean, I don't know how true this is, but if this is true, that hurts. Adoree Jackson's a great young player. He's a player that the 49ers could have had for, quite some time. I don't know. I mean, Tim Kawakami, who's from The Athletic that covers the 49ers, mentioned 45 minutes before the trade deadline, after the Chase Young trade happened, that the 49ers are closing in on another trade. He mentioned that he doesn't know who it's for, but it seems like they've likely got one more person to trade for, one more player to trade for. So, I mean, it tells us that the 49ers were serious about improving their secondary, enough to the point, that they were willing to give up compensation for Adoree Jackson. It's not been the best year for Adoree Jackson, but he had 2 seasons in a row with the New York Jets where he allowed a completion percentage below 50%. And I believe he's only gave up 3 to 4 touchdowns in the past 2 years. He's got track speed, and he's more of a man-to-man type of corner, as opposed to the cornerbacks, currently on the Niners roster who are seemingly better in man coverage. So it definitely would have been an upgrade for that secondary. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how true it is, but it seems to be true enough. So it seems like, the Niners have no other option but to rely on their options already on the roster at the cornerback position. Especially for Lenore and Isaiah Oliver, it can't feel good knowing that your team was looking to replace you, but at the same time, it's all business in the NFL. And the Niners are obligated to put the best players out there and trade for the best players, hence to why they got Chase Young. They didn't need to trade for Chase Young, but they did. It's going to make their run defense a whole lot better, and they essentially got Chase Young for free. So, Adoree Jackson would have been a nice addition, but obviously it didn't happen, so we can stop talking about it now. The Niners will just rely on their corners currently on the roster. Sam Womack, Darrell Luter, like I said, coming off of injury soon, so that should give the Niners a boost. Maybe they can play one of those guys, and hopefully one of them guys can step up. But yeah, like I said, it's being reported that the 49ers had a deal in place to acquire cornerback Adoree Jackson from the New York Giants, but they failed to report it in enough time. But at the end of the day, you got to be happy with the 49ers trade deadline for the most part. I mean, they got a premier pass rusher when healthy. They were able to get him for essentially nothing. So you got to take the good with the bad. I don't think that the 49ers are in a situation where they're still not going to be contending for a Super Bowl. They don't look like contenders right now. But again, I think that this defense will turn things around, especially with the addition with Chase Young. Maybe Lenore and Charvarius Ward will step up. Maybe the necessary adjustments are made in the bye week that need to happen in terms of Steve Wilks adjusting things. We'll see. But at the end of the day, if this is true, it does sting a little bit, but it just shows that the 49ers will have to bank on the current cornerbacks on their roster.